What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. I get a number of questions on YouTube and on Twitter and just pretty much any social media platform that I'm on, that being Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, about what I think the future is of gaming and movies as a whole post the pandemic and this very first pandemic, because this is pandemic 1 that we are going through right now, guys, and it's hard to say what the long-term effects of this pandemic are going to be, but I thought that I would, talk about here on the YouTube channel, just in this first segment of the show, about the future of gaming, the future of movies, because I know if you are accustomed to my channel, that's what you're coming to this channel for, is gaming and movie content. And so I wanted to take a moment here to talk about what my thoughts are kind of going into the world when everything kind of starts opening back up, and if things if things close back up in the fall, if the pandemic comes back once again. We are in an unprecedented time, guys, where obviously we've never seen anything like this in the history of our country. We've seen a lot of peaks and valleys, obviously, throughout the course of history, and the facts are the facts. You can just go back on history and look at the data of some of the things that we've gone through: world wars, Great Depressions, Great Recessions. There has been a number of things that have affected the overall economy. There's been things that have I would say that have just affected our world, sometimes in a very, obviously a very negative way. But there's a lot of times an underlying positive, kind of switch up that ends up happening throughout the course of time. That, things that happen, even though there's, extremely negative repercussions in the short term, the long term, we can see that America, as far as, and just the world really at large, has really progressed over the course of time. And so I think that now that we're talking about, now with the pandemic going on right now, and obviously it's kind of, it's been cyclical. It's kind of gone up, it's gone down, it kind of probably is going to go back up at some point, especially if it comes back later on this year. But I'm no medical expert, so I'm not really going to get into like the data and things of that nature. What we're going to talk about is gaming and movies here and what this is going to do, because we've already seen what it's done up to this point. That being, a lot of our favorite games, or games that we're really looking forward to, have been postponed to later in the year or been postponed to 2021. The same exact thing can be said for movies. Movies that we've been really looking forward to are being postponed to the foreseeable future. And so I think that when you look at this, we got to look at it from a number of different angles. But all in all, guys, just as a quick, statement that I think that's important to understand is that we've gotten through many things throughout the course of our history. Not necessarily something like this, a pandemic that is like a significant pandemic that's shut down the economy for a significant amount of time, but we've gone through a lot as a country, and as a world, we've gone through a lot. And my belief is that America we will get through this, okay? We're going to get through it. We're going to come out stronger on the other side. Now, does that mean it's going to be immediate? Absolutely not. That's not what that necessarily means. What I mean is that in the next 2, 5, 10 years, over time, long term, guys, we are going to be seeing, significant increases in our economy. We're going to, I believe in America 100%. And I believe in the world as a whole as well, guys. I think the entire world is progressing at rapid rates. And I think that all economies over the course of time will, go back on the incline. It's going to take time, though, and this is a world effort that we're all kind of coming together for one cause, for one, we all are suffering from the same exact, thing, that being a pandemic. And it is a very, interesting and terrifying time, but these are the times that are going to make you stronger as a person and make us stronger as a society. So what does that have to do with gaming? Well, guys, I think what I'm getting at when I say that the country and the world as a whole is going to progress. It might not be next week or next month or next year, but long term it's going to progress. The same thing with gaming and movies. These are things that are going to continue progressing. This is going to have its short-term effects absolutely on movies and gaming, but long-term I am still incredibly bullish on the entertainment industry at large, that being gaming and movies in particular, that world of what we talk about here on the YouTube channel. I believe that we're going to continue eclipsing what we, think is the norm right now as far as graphics, as far as, just franchises and character development and things of that nature. We learn and we get better. Like when you look at anything in life, you learn what you got right, wrong, and what you can do better moving forward. And the same can be said for different industries. We learn with time. And a pandemic like this, I believe, actually is going to help us even progress even further beyond our wildest dreams of pre-pandemic. So overall, guys, I'm extremely bullish on it. I know there's been, people have asked me about, do I think that gaming is going to take a significant, there's going to be a significant decline in gaming where a lot of developers won't even be able to make games anymore for a significant amount of time, or movies. And look, even if that were the case, these are art forms that are, movies, absolutely. Gaming is starting to become staples within society. Think of sports, guys. Sports has become a staple in our society because this is a way that we can all, we can cheer for something bigger than ourselves. It's something that brings communities, brings, people together. It also kind of divides people as well at times, as do many other industries. But one thing that sports does do is it brings people together. And I believe gaming and movies are similar things. They're things that we can relate to, or things that we can imagine about, things that we can talk about with other people, that being friends or family, and be able to kind of let the imagination run wild with, movies as well as just gaming in general. So the future, I'm very bullish, guys. Incredibly bullish on the future of gaming as well as movies. I believe that if you just trust in what our history is as a country, as a world, there's always been bumps in the road, but there's consistent progress over time. And I believe that is true even now with things how they are right now. Just a very uncertain, obviously uncertain times, but I just believe, guys, that we're going to get out of this, and we're going to, over time, going to be stronger for it. And so it's kind of a silver lining, I think, during a time within a country so divided. This was something that came at a time in which everything was divided and kind of brought us together to work on one common cause and one common goal, that being to defeat the pandemic. And so within gaming, within, movies, these are segments of our lives. These are, it's entertainment, right? And so is sports. Sports is entertainment. But at the end of the day, these are staples of our society. They're important, right? That they do continue in one capacity or another. And so I would say, guys, that, look, just, have that faith, believe in what our history is, and what history has shown, that we've gone through some dark times, guys. Even more recently than not, the Great Recession. And so we went through the Great Recession, and that was a pretty difficult time for many people. And there was a real concern that the entire, financial system was going to completely collapse. And so, look, I'm not saying that this is worse than that, this is better than that. I'm saying that the pandemic, the ripple effects are going to be felt for most likely years to come. But the effects of the Great Recession, you could even argue, are still felt to this day. So at the end of the day, though, guys, I believe in there is going to be progress over time. There's going to be dark ages or dark times within society, within the world. There's going to be more bright, that being more light, I should say, at the end of the tunnel than darkness. But sometimes you have to go through the dark in order to come out on the other side, which of course is the light. And sometimes when you're in the dark and you can't see what lies ahead, you have to work together as a unit, as a society, as a community, whatever it might be, to get to that other side. And I think that's what's happening within the gaming industry and the movie industries. They are going through this, not knowing what's on the other side, just like all of us. But at the end of the day, we're going to get to that other side because it's a belief, it's a faith that we will. Us being human, it's about the ultimate, it's kind of trying as hard as we can and doing everything within our power, not only to make the world a better place, but it's also about survival, just surviving and getting through it. So we're going to get through it, guys. And the gaming industry and the movie industry is going to get through it. And we're going to continue progress as a country, as a world. And it just comes down to us doing this in a very, we got to do it in a civilized manner. And look, there's going to be, people are going to have to take risks. People are going to, and people are doing that right now, trying to find, solutions to the pandemic, finding vaccines and things of that nature. Look, guys, at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful country that we're in, where we're able to play video games and take in different forms of entertainment, that being like movies. And so it's important that those things do continue, similar to sports. They just do, because they're a staple of an art form that is starting to really be solidified over time. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think the future of gaming, the future of movies is? I mean, do you guys think that this is something that is going to be a prolonged ordeal where we're not going to be able to see new movies very much, or we're not going to be able to play new games for the foreseeable future? I mean, I think that over time, guys, you're going to see, it seems like, some dark times, right? Even if we go deep into a recession and things of that nature, it's gonna be tough. It really is. But at the end of the day, we're going to come out, we're going to get through it, okay? No matter if it's, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, we're going to come through it. And when we get through it, on the other side is going to be significant incline in everything that you can possibly imagine. We're going to exceed expectations, exceed what we thought was possible. And that's a beautiful thing and a thought just to kind of keep in mind, guys, as we go through this pandemic as a community, as a country, as a world. Just, getting through it is just what we have to do, because we have no other choice. We've got to get through it. And so let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Crash Bandicoot, guys, it's a franchise that I feel has had some incredible moments, things that as far as a franchise is concerned, that you could really, most people, when you hear the word Crash or Crash Bandicoot, you absolutely know what people are talking about, because this is a franchise that's dated back to 1996. And guys, we've had a number of installments, and even more recently than not, we've had some installments in the franchise. Not so much Crash Bandicoot, but Crash in one capacity or another. So I want to talk about, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about what happened to Crash Bandicoot. So let's talk about it. Guys, of course, as far as the timeline is concerned, I'm getting this from Wikipedia. Look, from 1996, we had our very first Crash Bandicoot, and you had pretty much a significant amount of time after that, pretty much every single year, all the way to 2010, there was at least a new game or a, expansion or something of that nature in the franchise. So you're talking, from 1996 to 2010, you're getting all kinds of different content that you're able to connect with Crash Bandicoot. But then, after 2010, you had to wait 7 years until the Insane Trilogy came out, which was essentially a remaster, had all of the, the 3 Crash Bandicoot games in there, but you had to wait 7 years for that. Then a couple years later in 2019, we got Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which obviously was pretty popular as well. And then, of course, in 2020, Crash Bandicoot Mobile. Now, look, the way that I look at this, guys, is, kind of what happened here. Like, so 1996 to 2010, you're basically getting a new game, or you're getting an expansion, something of that nature, every single year from 1996 to 2010. And it's very popular, guys. But kind of like what happened here? I mean, why was it after Nitro Kart 2, we didn't get anything until 2017? And when we did get something, it was basically a remaster. And then after that, a couple years later, you get Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which is great, is fine and dandy. But we really haven't had a continuation of Crash Bandicoot as a franchise from every sense of the word. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, at least we have something that we're able to connect with, which of course would be the remaster or, the Crash Team Racing. But I think if you look through everything that goes into, of course, these games as a whole, Vicarious Visions are the ones who have had control of the Crash Bandicoot franchise. And I'm not saying that they haven't, done what they've needed to do, but at the same time, you kind of wonder, why is it that Crash Bandicoot hasn't come out, pretty much, since the Crash Team Racing, or you could even go all the way back to 2010. And this is a franchise that's owned by Activision. They've owned it since 2008. And so you kind of wonder, Activision is a company that not only do they got Crash, they've got Spyro. These are pretty big, franchises. Why is it that they really haven't continued? We're getting kind of remasters and things of that nature. But I think what it really comes down to, guys, as does with many other franchises out there, I mean, you could compare it to Call of Duty, you could compare it to Assassin's Creed, you could compare it to a lot of different games out there that tried this formula of having new games every single year. And we know the success for Call of Duty. I mean, the sky is the limit, it seems, with that franchise. Every single year, the best-selling game every year. But a game like Assassin's Creed has had its peaks and valleys. Some of the games are, great. Others aren't so much. And same thing with Call of Duty. But Assassin's Creed has a little bit more, not as big of a fan base as Call of Duty does. Well, with Crash Bandicoot, this had a very big fan base. And I feel that maybe, taking a few years off after Nitro Kart 2 would have been a good idea. Just taking a few years off and then kind of continuing the franchise, or doing some type of remaster or something. But they waited 7 years, and now, not that no one knows what Crash is. Most people know what Crash is. If you have any, history of gaming, you know what Crash is without a doubt. Similar to Spyro and games like that. These are games that kind of built what we have today. And so I think if you really think about it, guys, I think what it comes down to is you've got this franchise that, without a doubt, has kind of, been put on a hiatus for whatever reason. Now, throughout the course of this Wikipedia article, there's a area where it's got, 2011 to 2016 hiatus. On a Kotaku interview with then Activision CEO Eric Hirshberg regarding the future of the Crash series, he said, "I don't have anything official to announce, but I can speak as an individual. I love Crash Bandicoot. Those were some of my favorite video games growing up, and I would love to find a way to bring him back if we could." Andy Gavin, co-creator of Crash Bandicoot, has said that he would love to see an HD version of the first 4 games, or even a full-blown reboot. So obviously we got the HD version, right, with the Crash Bandicoot, the Insane series. Jason Rubin, co-creator of Crash Bandicoot, said he was hopeful that Activision would bring Crash back to their glory days. The character is still very dear to fans between 18 and 49 years. A new design of Crash Bandicoot was spotted in a photo from the Vicarious Visions studio, raising rumors that a new game might have been in development, though this was later confirmed to be concept art from a previous Crash Bandicoot canceled game. And just a number of other reasons why, this hiatus was kind of going on and on December 5th, 2015, rumors of a possible Crash Bandicoot return flared up once again when SIE Worldwide Studios chairman and SCEA president and CEO Sean Layden appeared on stage at PlayStation Experience wearing a Crash Bandicoot shirt. Layden, however, never mentioned the series at the event and is yet to address why he wore the shirt. In February 2016, a new Crash game appeared to be on the horizon when NECA Director of Product Development, Randy Falk, stated in an interview with YouTube Pixel Dan that the company had a lot of stuff going on with Sony before mentioning that I see they're bringing Crash Bandicoot back. So there's some great stuff there. Shortly after, however, an NECA representative clarified with GameSpot that Falk's comments were misunderstood and that Falk was only speaking of a hypothetical return of the series after seeing a fan-made Crash art just before being interviewed. And then, lastly, Naughty Dog's 2016 game Uncharted 4: A Thief's End features protagonist Nathan Drake playing a level from the original Crash Bandicoot, further adding to the rumor that a return for the series was imminent. Speculation was fueled even further when it was discovered that Activision's legal ownership of the franchise was not mentioned anywhere in the game's credits, sparking rumors that the franchise had been purchased by Sony. Lex Lang, the then most recent voice actor of Dr. Neo Cortex, also hinted on Facebook that he was asked to reprise his role. However, shortly after, the rumors and speculations were derailed when Sony VP of Publisher Relations Adam Boynes confirmed on Twitter that Activision still owns the rights to the franchise, and Lang clarified that he was not teasing a Crash Bandicoot revival and that he had not been asked to return to the series, but would be open to potentially lending his voice to a new Crash game in the future. So look, at the end of the day, guys, just a lot of back and forth, right? A lot of he said, she said, lots of, kind of backtracking here. You say one thing and then it gets backtracked by, somebody else. And so this has been something that's been going on now for a while. Just a lot of back and forth, lots of question marks regarding, ultimately what's going to happen in this franchise. But what we can see, though, guys, at the end of the day, is the big things that, honestly, when we really think about it, the things that matter to the developers and the publishers is what does the game sell? Like, how many copies is it selling? How much money did it make? And what type of critical reception did it get? Does it warrant a sequel? The Crash Bandicoot series has been a commercial success. As of 2007, the series altogether sold over 40 million units worldwide. According to Games Ultra, the first Crash Bandicoot game had sold 6.8 million units as of November 2003, making it the 7th best-selling PlayStation game of all time. Cortex Strikes Back sold 3.85 million units in the US, while Warp sold 3.74. The last two games of the PlayStation console, Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash, sold 1.9 and 1.1 million in the US respectively. Crash Bandicoot: The Wrath of Cortex, which has sold 1.56 million units in the US. On February 12th of 2019, Activision announced in a press release for its fourth quarter and 2018 financial results that N. Sane Trilogy has sold in over 10 million units since its initial release in 2017. The Crash Bandicoot series is one of the few Western video game series to find blockbuster success in Japan. Cortex Strikes Back and Warp sold 1.3 and 1.4 million units in the country, respectively, while the PlayStation 2 version of Wrath of Cortex sold 212,000 units. So look, I want to really look at that line, guys. On February 12th, 2019, Activision announced that in their press release that N. Sane Trilogy sold over 10 million units since its release in 2017. That's pretty good. So why is it that we haven't seen really a continuation? Sure, they did Crash Team Racing, okay. Maybe they're just trying to take it one step at a time. It's hard to say. But an official continuation of the Crash Bandicoot franchise, I think, is something that has to happen. Because look, guys, over the course of time, if you look at just really everything from each of the games, as far as based on Metacritic, what this game has gotten, as far as from a critical reception standpoint, not only has it been a commercial success, but it's gotten pretty good ratings. I mean, I would say, guys, anywhere between 60 to 85% reception, which is pretty good. That's above average. That's above average to generally favorable reviews overall, with, of course, the Crash Bandicoot Warp getting 91 out of 100 based on Metacritic. And then, of course, Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy, you can look at that, basically getting, between, high 70s to 80s in the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy. And then Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled got, in the 80s as well, out of 100, which is huge, guys. And so I really think that This is a franchise that deserves to continue and coexist with other games, of course, within the gaming industry, and it deserves to continue. Crash Bandicoot deserves to continue, and maybe it's something which I believe, because of how well the critical reception as well as the commercial success that these games have been, I believe that it probably is somewhere in development at this very moment. But we'll have to kind of wait and see, guys. I'd love to hear from all of you. What do you guys think? Do you think that Crash Bandicoot is going to see a return to continue the franchise moving forward? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Crash Bandicoot content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Metal Gear Solid and the Metal Gear Solid franchise as a whole, and where could this franchise potentially go in the future. And so in this segment of the show, guys, I want to talk more about Metal Gear Solid 6, everything that we know so far about the unannounced, game at this point. Is this something that could potentially come out in the future? And I found a really cool article from Looper, guys, and written by Daily Wilhelm, and it's about pretty much how Hideo Kojima, not only did he, predict certain, aspects of our real life, like society as a whole within the Metal Gear games, but what could this mean about the future of this franchise? Could we ever see a sequel of Metal Gear? Never say never, guys. So Metal Gear Solid was, at one time, a fixture of gaming. It was assumed, rather than speculated on, that Konami would continue pumping out new entries because gamers were willing to pay for sequel after sequel. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, received a host of awards and record sales, but just might be the franchise's final game. Though Konami released Metal Gear Survive in 2018, it wasn't really a proper sequel since its story takes place before the events of The Phantom Pain, making it something of a spin-off prequel. For many MGS fans, Survive wasn't a full-fledged Metal Gear game because Hideo Kojima was excluded from its development. The big beef between Kojima and Konami is the central reason why it is unlikely you'll ever see a follow-up to The Phantom Pain. Now, first of all, I think that, yes, part of it has to be that Hideo Kojima was excluded from the development of Metal Gear Survive, but it just wasn't a good game, guys. At the end of the day, it wasn't very good, and people, that being fans and such, as well as critics alike, had many reasons not to like this game. What I will say about the beef between Kojima and Konami, it sounds like this relationship that was torn apart is now slowly but surely potentially coming back together because of Sony. Sony is trying to work out a deal, guys, it sounds like, hasn't been confirmed yet, between Kojima and Konami to get the Silent Hills game made that had been started, as well as, of course, a potential Metal Gear game at some point in the future. So Sony is kind of trying to mend this torn relationship between Kojima and Konami. Now, is it going to be successful? It's hard to say, but I think that it needs to happen because Silent Hills is, or PT, playable teaser that we were able to play, such a tease to all of us because we wanted to see more and play more in this universe, and we never got the chance to. So it'd be great to have Silent Hills finally come out, see Kojima's vision for this franchise, and then on top of that, maybe come back to the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Now, Konami wasn't a fan of The Phantom Pain. Specifically, the company clashed with Kojima over the time, effort, and ridiculous amount of cash that went into producing the game. The company had pivoted to prioritizing mobile games, which are relatively cheap to make and easy to pepper with microtransactions. AAA action-adventure titles, on the other hand, are arduous affairs with a single price point, which is true. Obviously, guys, every big publisher is going to want to find the best ways where it's not going to cost too much, and they're going to be able to find ways to microtransactions have become a huge part of the gaming world at this point. Whether you like it, you hate it, it's just becoming kind of a signature part for publishers to make extra money. Now, despite the open ending of the Phantom Pain and Konami's own salt in the wound promise to Kojima to produce his games without him, Survive seemed to confirm Metal Gear Solid would not survive the Konami-Kojima divorce. Survive flopped hard. It was missing the Kojima magic touch. That and Konami decided it would be a good idea to force players to pay for save files. It's little wonder Metal Gear Survive became a recurring joke in the industry. So, At the end of the day, guys, that's pretty much what happened to with Metal Gear up to this point. Now, as far as Hideo Kojima and how he's predicted the future in a number of his games in the world of Hollywood, directors and the unique voices they bring to their films are recognized by both hardcore enthusiasts and casual theater goers. When it comes to video games, however, creative directors rarely share that same kind of fame or celebrity status. Most video games are known better for the development studios or publishers behind them than they are for the person at the helm of it all. Rare exceptions exist, however, and arguably the biggest outlier of all is none other than Hideo Kojima. Now, Death Stranding predicted an isolated America, which is very interesting. Kojima felt he had nothing and no one around him when he left Konami and turned Kojima Productions into an independent studio. He channeled that loneliness into his first project since breaking with the publisher he had called home for nearly 30 years. Death Stranding, a massive Sony-published open-world action title, launched in November 2014 after years of sparking excitement, confusion, and in-depth fan theories, which I'll never forget, guys. With Death Stranding, just what the hype that was around this game. And I mean, look, a lot of people felt that it was that the hype didn't pay off in the end with the game, and I disagree. I've said this on a number of occasions that I think Death Stranding is a walking masterpiece. And what I mean by that, guys, it's an open world game. It feels pretty, there, at times, like the gameplay and the way that it is feels pretty realistic as far as like the way that your character, have to balance your character out when you're carrying packages and things of that nature. Some of the things can get very repetitive, but the sheer beauty of the, of course, like the different environments and the story itself is so immersive that I think that it kind of forgives everything that other people were kind of complaining about. It's a game not for everyone, but it's really interesting that this was a game that came out in a time in which our country and society in general was so divided. Death Stranding also predicted society's savior, the delivery person. In Death Stranding, you control Sam Porter Bridges, a boots-on-the-ground courier who spends his days delivering packages to people across America who refuse to leave their homes. In this world, couriers are the only individuals brave and qualified enough to traverse the outdoors and bring people together by providing their wants and needs. Making a delivery in-game involves dropping packages off at doorways, while a hologram thanks you, as few people want to interact in person. And today, delivery people and couriers are the lifeblood of a society afflicted by, of course, the pandemic. Delivery services are enacting zero-contact drop-off services that are all too similar to Death Stranding, and delivery people line the streets as the only individuals willing to venture outdoors to retrieve vital goods. Even other aspects of today's society echo Death Stranding, like a father crafting a portable baby pot to protect his newborn when going outside. It's just wild. I mean, a lot of it, guys, you might think are more coincidences. Kojima, he predicted Google Stadia way back in 2010. He's just one of those guys that's like, he's so connected within the gaming universe and gaming as a whole that he can make these predictions, and a lot of times they very well have a good chance of being correct. Metal Gear predicted the adoption of algae-based fuel. Metal Gear Solid 2 warned about fake news, social media, and data manipulation. An incredibly prophetic moment from Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty offered commentary on social media and data manipulation that seems to gain more relevance with each passing year. Back in 2001, a pivotal scene showed characters discussing elements of the way the world communicates that some believe mirrors the perils of modern internet culture. It's just a really interesting thing when you look at everything within just Metal Gear and even Death Stranding that has ties to, what's going on right now. And what I will say about this, guys, is what does this have to do with Metal Gear Solid 6? Well, the idea is that, maybe Hideo Kojima wants to continue with the predictions and such through Death Stranding, but at the same time, if his friendship that was torn apart is brought back together through Sony to Konami, potentially we might see him do one last, go-around of the Metal Gear franchise. Now, maybe not. There's a good chance he won't. But at the same time, it'd be interesting to see him kind of like as an executive that was kind of giving, of course, his creative feedback of certain things. Maybe he's not exactly the creative director of the project, but he's kind of there to mentor, to make sure that the franchise is turned in the right direction. Metal Gear highlighted the behind-the-scenes manipulation of the financial elite, which was another thing. It also detailed the rise of drone warfare, which is a very interesting concept throughout the course of time here. Now, what I will say is this, guys. When you look at the totality of the things that we know so far about Metal Gear Solid 6, we know very little. But what we can do is we can kind of pick from certain aspects of what we've had so far in Metal Gear and what we've had in Death Stranding. So we're basically going on a limb here saying that Hideo Kojima is going to come back, and I believe that there's a potential, not a massive chance, but a chance that if he comes back to do Silent Hills, he may go back to do Death Stranding 2, and then he might come back to do Metal Gear Solid 6. And what better way to have a farewell to the Metal Gear Solid franchise than make one more game? And everyone knows that it's his last, Metal Gear Solid game that he's going to make, and kind of leave it in a good place, whether they decide to ever come back to Metal Gear, because the last taste in your mouth, or the last image that you see, of course, is pretty much Metal Gear Survive at this point, and you don't want to have that as your lasting image of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. So I think, guys, that, and this is in a perfect world, that we will have Hideo Kojima come back and do one more Metal Gear Solid game, following most likely Silent Hills as well as a Death Stranding 2, but hopefully it's something that we will see. Now, as far as the other things that we know, when will this game come out? It's very hard to say. I would say, guys, it's a ways off. Konami very well might have already greenlit another Metal Gear Solid game in the interim to, before Hideo Kojima, before any talks between him and Konami go through of him making another Metal Gear game. So I think that at this point in time, we're at least a few years away, most likely, from another Metal Gear game, because Konami's going to take their time with this upcoming project. And I think they know now that they can't be, cheap about it. They can't necessarily think to themselves, oh, we're going to make a AAA title, but we're going to make it, cheaply and just fill it with a ton of microtransactions and people are going to accept it just because it's a Metal Gear game. That obviously is not true, because people will use their spending dollars on other things, and people were very upset about, Hideo not being a part of the development process. So it'll be very interesting, to say the least. As far as what I'd like to see, guys, I would just like to see a continuation from Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain. I'd like to just see a continuation of it, even if it's a lot of years after, or even if it's like shortly after, directly after, whatever the case might be. I'd like to start getting introduced to some new characters. Maybe, we have certain characters that are passing the torch on to other characters, and so you're starting to get this wave of the next generation of the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Or there's just one more game that comes out, Hideo makes it, and that wraps up the totality of the Metal Gear franchise, and kind of he puts his stamp on the beginning, the middle, and the end of the franchise. But with that being said, guys, I will certainly keep you all up to speed as more information comes out about Metal Gear Solid 6. Let me know what you guys want to see in the comment section below. And for more Metal Gear Solid 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. One of the most anticipated movies of the summer is going to be, of course, Wonder Woman 1984. And guys, this movie is actually rapidly approaching as we go here, because it's going to be sticking with its original release date, at least as of right now. And so I want to talk about everything we know so far about the movie, and we can kind of give our thoughts, and I would love to give or get your thoughts in the comment section below. So in an article, guys, that was written by Rick Marshall of Digital Trends, after 3 relatively underwhelming superhero movies, Warner Bros. Pictures finally struck gold with 2017's Wonder Woman, a critical and commercial hit that broke a long list of box office records, on its way to becoming one of the most successful superhero movies of all time. Its sequel, Wonder Woman 1984, finally has a trailer, and we have what might be the first look at the film's villain. The Wonder Woman sequel was officially confirmed in July of 2017, with director Patty Jenkins and star Gal Gadot both returning. Wonder Woman 1984 is currently scheduled to hit theaters on August 14th of 2020. So, what I will say is, guys, the first Wonder Woman I thought was really, I thought was very well done overall. And, I wasn't quite as big of a fan as some people, but I still thought it was a very well done movie. And it was a fun box office, summer blockbuster movie, without a doubt. According to a Variety report, Warner Brothers has pushed Wonder Woman in 1984 a third time, this time from June 5th to August 14. The move is just one of a spate of big movie releases affected by the pandemic. While others postponed tentpole films have not received new release dates, the immediate provision of the August 14 release date is a positive sign for moviegoers. Now, the film was originally given a December 13, 2019 release date, only to have Warner Brothers Pictures have the premiere a month earlier to November 1st. In late October 2018, Warner Brothers moved Wonder Woman 1984 from its November 1st, 2019 release date to June 5th, 2020. While no specific reasons were given for the change, Gal Gadot seemed to indicate that she felt Wonder Woman 1984 was more of a summer blockbuster than an early November release. And so she of course tweeted it out, stating that June 5th, 2020 was its rightful home as a movie. Now we'll just have to wait and see if the August 14 release date comes to fruition. So then, of course, the images that have come out, guys, are incredible. And one thing I'll say about the release date is hopefully they're able to stick to the date. And it's hard to say, guys, because of the pandemic and things of that nature. Will we be able to, are they going to feel comfortable, that being like the studios and such, are they going to feel comfortable, putting a movie out there in theaters, especially with what we're coming back to, just that being, are people going to be able to sit next to each other in the movie theater? Are we going to is it going to be just half capacity of movie theaters when this movie finally comes out? It's hard to say because things seem to be changing almost every single day. The images that have come out, guys, are really beautiful shots of this movie. I love some of the shots that we've seen so far. I try to stay away from any types of, spoilers, whether that be from images and trailers and, things of that nature, even though sometimes it can be very difficult because a lot of times in the trailers, at least, they'll give you way too much information. Now, the Wonder Woman sequel was bringing in one of Hollywood's most entertaining actresses to play the villain in the DC Comics heroine's next big screen adventure. Jenkins announced the casting of Bridesmaids and Ghostbusters actress Kristen Wiig in the role of Cheetah in March 2018, and now an unofficial image making the rounds online might offer the first look at her sporting the character's signature look. And the image first appeared on a Wonder Woman fan account and was later removed, but not before it found its way elsewhere around the movie news world. The image certainly makes a strong case for being legitimate, as it features a look very much in keeping with Cheetah's traditional appearance, with plenty of 1980s style graphics in keeping with the film's setting. So, honestly, guys, I'm pretty excited. Cheetah, I don't know much at all about that character, but I'm excited. I'm interested to see what that looks like. Now, like I said, the first trailer has already released. It's the only trailer that I've seen up to this point. I don't know if there's been other ones that have come out. I'm sure there probably are other trailers at this point that have come out. But I try, like I said, to stay away from watching. Like, once you show me one trailer and I get to kind of see what the overall gist of it is, then you usually either convince me or not so much to go, watch it in theaters. And I'm pretty much convinced at this point after the first trailer to go see it. Now, just before Christmas 2018, Gadot took it to Instagram to share some exciting news. After a 6-month shoot that spanned Washington, D.C., the United Kingdom, Spain, and the Canary Islands, Wonder Woman 1984 finally wrapped production on December 22nd. In her social media post, Gadot complimented Wonder Woman 1984's 1,000-strong cast and crew for giving everything they have into our movie, and singled out director Patty Jenkins for some extra praise. She always has our backs, she gives us the wings to dare, and every day she helped us find the most creative version of ourselves, Gadot said. I am so grateful to call her my friend. And you know what, guys? Patty Jenkins, I think that she's going to actually be a pretty popular director moving forward. I'm really excited to see and kind of continue keeping up with her career as we go, because I'm very interested, let's just put it that way, after watching the first Wonder Woman, and, I can't wait to see what she does after the Wonder Woman movies. Now, As if there wasn't enough excitement surrounding Wonder Woman 1984, the film has recruited Oscar-winning composer Hans Zimmer to provide the score for the film, who I believe, guys, Hans Zimmer is the greatest composer of all time. I think that he is, when we're talking about, movie composing, he is incredible, just incredible. The amount of movies this guy has done the score for, it's incredible. It's so impressive what he's been able to accomplish. And Zimmer announced his involvement with Wonder Woman's next solo adventure on his website. Project will bring him back to the DC Comics superhero world after scoring 2016's Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, which had him create the score for Godot's debut as the character. The acclaimed composer has been nominated for 11 Academy Awards over the years, winning in 1994 for The Lion King. I mean, and guys, he's done just so many, just incredible songs and composing for so many incredible movies. And so other than that, guys, one thing that I want to mention is like the new time and the new place. Before she was officially confirmed as the sequel's director, Jenkins discussed some of the ideas she hoped to bring to the second chapter of Wonder Woman's solo saga. According to a May 2017 profile of Jenkins, second film would have a more contemporary setting than the World War I backdrop of Wonder Woman. Later reports indicated that the Cold War era would be the time period for the second film, with the action unfolding in the U.S. during the height of the international tensions rather than returning to Europe. Whatever the story does entail, it has an impressive writing team scripting it. Jeff Johns, a veteran DC Comics writer and DC Films co-chairman, initially crafted the story for the sequel with Jenkins, and the expendable screenwriter Dave Callaham was brought on in September 2017 to join the writing team. Look, guys, I think that one thing that we know is that this will be, somewhat of a continuation, obviously, of that of Wonder Woman, but I'll be interested to see how this maybe starts tying into the rest of the DC universe, the DC cinematic universe. And I think that we can all expect that Wonder Woman 1984 is probably going to break a good amount of records. Now, is it going to be as big as, let's just say, the first Wonder Woman? It's hard to say. I would probably think that there's a real possibility that it will be. At the same time, maybe not, but I would say that this is going to be going up against some stiff competition in the summer. I mean, when you're looking at Tenet, which is Christopher Nolan's next movie, that's one thing that kind of stands out that it's going to have to be competing against. But Wonder Woman kind of might just, if it stays where it is going to be kind of somewhat by itself. It's not going to have a ton of competition because so many movies have been pushed back to later on in 2020 and also into 2021. So it'll be interesting to say the least, guys. I'm really excited about it. We know a good amount, but it's at the same time, there's still a lot of mystery surrounding this movie. So I would love to hear from all of you guys out there. What do you all think about Wonder Woman 1984? What are you most excited to see? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Wonder Woman 1984 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.